My name is Isabella. I've always believed that marriage was built on love, loyalty, and trust. Maybe I was too naive, too blinded by the promises my husband Daniel whispered into my ear when he slipped that diamond ring on my finger. I thought he was my forever. But forever has a cruel way of showing you it's just a lie dressed as hope. It all began one ordinary evening. Daniel and I were sitting at the dinner table. The air was heavy with silence, the kind that squeezes your chest until you can barely breathe. He barely touched his food. His eyes kept wandering to his phone, and every time the screen lit up, his lips curled into a smile I hadn't seen in months. "Who keeps texting you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. He looked up quickly, almost too quickly, and forced a laugh. "No one important. Just work stuff." But I wasn't stupid. Daniel never laughed at work messages. Something was wrong. The more I watched him, the more the truth began to scream at me from between the cracks. He came home late, his shirt smelling of perfume I didn't wear. He took business trips that never existed before. And when he was home, his body was present, but his heart was already gone. And then one night when he thought I was asleep, I heard him whisper her name. Emily. The sound of it burned through me like acid. I lay there frozen, staring at the ceiling, my whole body shaking. Who was she? And why was my husband calling her name in his sleep instead of mine? I wish I could say I confronted him right away, but I didn't. Instead, I drowned myself in silence, in waiting, in hoping maybe I was wrong. But hope can be a dangerous poison. It wasn't until I accidentally saw a message pop up on his phone that I knew the truth. "Last night was amazing. I can't wait to see you again. Don't let her suspect anything." Her words. Emily. My hands trembled so hard I almost dropped his phone. My heart cracked in that instant. Not just cracked, it shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces. And when I confronted him the next morning, I expected denial, excuses, maybe even anger. But what I got was worse. "Isabella," he said coldly, "don't make this dramatic. Emily makes me happy. You've become nothing but a shadow of the woman I married." My lips parted, but no words came out. His words cut deeper than any knife ever could. And the worst part? He didn't even look guilty. The betrayal was enough to break me. But what broke me even more was her. Emily. She didn't just steal my husband. She mocked me for it. One afternoon, when Daniel was at work, I received a message from an unknown number. It was her. "You should thank me, Isabella. At least Daniel has someone who makes him feel alive again. Maybe you should try being a better wife." My chest tightened as I read her words. My vision blurred with tears. I wanted to scream, to fight, to claw the world apart. But instead, I stayed silent. Because I realized something that day. Silence is power. I started watching, observing. Every time she posted pictures online, every time she tagged herself in some fancy restaurant, I noticed something. Daniel was always conveniently busy at those times. He wasn't with me. He was with her. My world became a stage where I played the quiet, broken wife, while in the shadows, I collected truths like weapons. The first time I saw them together, it was like swallowing glass. I had followed him, my heart pounding, my legs trembling, until I saw them, holding hands, laughing, living a life that wasn't theirs to live. And as if fate wanted to test how much I could endure, she looked right at me. And she smirked. That smirk will haunt me forever. Later, I received another message from her. "You looked so pathetic standing there. He doesn't love you, Isabella. He never will again. You should just let go." She mocked my pain like it was entertainment, like my heartbreak was her prize. But what she didn't know was that I had something she didn't. A truth I hadn't revealed yet. That night, I sat on my bed, staring at the ceiling, holding onto a secret that neither Daniel nor Emily knew. A secret that would shatter both of their worlds when the time was right. I could hear her laughter echoing in my head, her cruel words replaying like poison. And Daniel? He was sleeping peacefully beside me, as if he hadn't destroyed me, as if he hadn't chosen someone else over me. I whispered to myself in the dark. They think I'm weak. They think I'm broken. But when they see the truth, they'll both freeze in shock, because my silence wasn't weakness. It was the calm before the storm. And just when I thought I had gained control over my emotions, I overheard Daniel on the phone one evening. His voice was low, but the words hit me like lightning. "I promise, Emily. She won't be a problem much longer." My blood turned cold. What did he mean by that? Was he planning to leave me? Divorce me? Or something worse? My hands clenched into fists, my whole body shaking. That was the moment I realized my pain wasn't just a wound anymore. It was a weapon, and I was going to use it. But the truth I carried, the secret they didn't know, it wasn't just about betrayal. It was about life itself. Because what neither Daniel nor Emily knew was that I wasn't the only one in this marriage anymore. I pressed my trembling hand against my stomach and whispered to the life inside me, "They think they've broken me, but soon my truth will break them both." I don't think I'll ever forget the night I pressed my palm against my stomach and realized I wasn't alone anymore. It was a strange mix of terror and strength, two emotions battling inside me. Daniel's betrayal had already crushed me, but this gave me a reason to rise. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for the tiny heartbeat growing inside me. But telling him? No, not yet. He didn't deserve to know. The days after that moment felt heavier than ever. Daniel was becoming more distant, more careless. He no longer even tried to hide his late-night calls with Emily. Sometimes he laughed so loudly I had to put a pillow over my head just to drown out the sound. Do you know how painful it is to hear your husband laugh in a way he hasn't with you for months? But with another woman, it's like being erased, piece by piece. And as if his cruelty wasn't enough, Emily kept feeding her poison into my life. Does it hurt watching him fall for me? One of her messages said. Another read, "You'll never be enough, Isabella." That's why he's mine now. Every word she wrote was like a knife digging deeper. But instead of bleeding out, I stitched those wounds with silence. Because silence was my shield. And one day, it would be my sword. It was during one of those lonely nights that I began documenting everything. His late arrivals, his secret calls, screenshots of her messages. I saved every shred of evidence. Not because I wanted revenge just yet, but because I knew the day would come when they would need to see the truth they tried to bury. And in between my quiet gathering of truths, I found moments with myself, moments with the child inside me. I would sit on the balcony, wrap a blanket around my shoulders, and whisper softly, "They think I'm nothing. But you and I, we are everything." But the cracks in Daniel's mask grew larger. One Saturday afternoon, I decided to surprise him by showing up at his office. Maybe a part of me wanted to test if there was anything left to salvage. But when I walked into his workplace, he wasn't there. His secretary looked confused when I asked. "Oh, Daniel left early. He said he had dinner plans." Dinner plans. I drove around in circles, the wheel trembling under my grip, until my instincts led me to a hotel downtown. And there, through the glass of the restaurant, I saw him. Daniel. With her. Emily's hand rested casually over his, her laugh echoing even through the glass like nails on a chalkboard. He leaned in close, whispering into her ear the way he used to with me. My chest tightened so much I could barely breathe. I felt like an intruder in a life that was supposed to be mine. But then, she saw me. And once again, she smirked. The same mocking, cruel twist of her lips that told me she enjoyed watching me suffer. The next day, she made sure to text me. "You look so desperate watching us. Maybe one day you'll learn that he chose me, not you." That was the day my silence shifted. I wasn't going to play the broken wife anymore. I was going to let them walk straight into the storm I was building. But Daniel wasn't just betraying me with Emily. No. One evening, I overheard a call he made in his office at home. His voice was sharp, filled with irritation. "I told you, I'll handle the money. She won't even notice when it's gone." My heart nearly stopped. Money? What money? I crept back into my room, my hands shaking so badly I could barely steady myself. Later that night, I checked our joint account, and the numbers didn't add up. Thousands of dollars were missing. Money I had worked hard to save from my small side business. He wasn't just cheating. He was stealing from me. The rage inside me grew hotter than ever. But I stayed quiet. Because the truth wasn't ready yet. Not until it would burn them both. One night, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed. Normally, I wouldn't touch it, but something in me snapped. The message lit up the screen. Emily, when are you finally leaving her? You promised me. I don't want to wait forever. And then Daniel's reply, already typed out, waiting to be sent. Soon, she won't matter anymore. I just need to make sure she doesn't cause problems. My blood ran cold. Doesn't matter anymore? I placed my hand on my stomach again, tears stinging my eyes. He wasn't just erasing me. He was erasing our child, the child he didn't even know about. And that was when I decided the truth wouldn't just be revealed. It would be weaponized. The next morning, Daniel came to breakfast wearing his usual mask of indifference. He poured himself coffee, scrolling through his phone as if I didn't exist. Daniel, I said softly, my voice steady. He barely looked up. What? I studied him, the man I once loved, the man who now treated me like a shadow in his house. And for the first time, instead of fear, I felt power, because I knew something he didn't. And when the moment was right, it would destroy him. That night, as I lay awake in bed, I thought about Emily's smirk, Daniel's betrayal, and the secret life growing inside me. I closed my eyes and whispered, they think I'm weak. But when I finally reveal the truth, their laughter will die. And just as I whispered those words, Daniel's phone buzzed again. This time, the message wasn't from Emily. It was from a number I didn't recognize. And what it said made my blood freeze in terror. The screen glowed in the dark room, Daniel's phone buzzing against the nightstand. My heart thudded in my chest as I reached over and read the new message. It wasn't from Emily this time. It was from an unknown number. And the words nearly stopped my breath. If your wife finds out about the account, everything will fall apart. Handle it. My hands trembled as I locked the phone and placed it back exactly where it was. An account? What account? Pieces of the puzzle I'd been too broken to connect suddenly began falling into place. The missing money. His secret calls. His anger when bills or savings came up in conversation. It wasn't just betrayal of the heart. Daniel was hiding something bigger. The next morning, he acted normal as a man leading two lives could act. He kissed me on the forehead like nothing was wrong. I forced a smile, but inside, I was burning. The moment he left, I turned detective. I pulled out my laptop and began digging. Weeks of watching, listening, and quietly gathering details had sharpened my instincts. I started with our shared bank account, and from there, followed the trail. And that's when I found it. A hidden account under his name. Transactions that led to places I couldn't even pronounce. Thousands of dollars moved around like chess pieces. And worse, some of it was tied to Emily. My blood boiled. This wasn't just infidelity. This was financial betrayal. He wasn't just giving her his love. He was giving her our future. When Daniel returned home that night, I played my part. I made dinner. I listened to him talk about work. And I even laughed when he cracked a hollow joke. But deep inside, I was screaming. Daniel, I asked casually, do you ever worry about money? You've seemed stressed lately. His fork froze midair for just a second before he forced a chuckle. No, Isabella. Everything's fine. Don't worry yourself. But I saw it. That flicker in his eyes. That shadow of guilt. And I knew he was lying. Later that week, fate handed me the sharpest dagger yet. I was cleaning the laundry room when I found a receipt in his jacket pocket. It wasn't just any receipt. It was for a diamond necklace. Expensive. Extravagant. The kind of gift you'd expect a man to give his wife to make up for months of distance. But I never received it. And when I checked the date, it lined up perfectly with the dinner I saw him having with Emily at that hotel. The necklace was hers. I thought I had reached the peak of my pain. But no, the universe wasn't finished tearing me apart just yet. 2 nights later, Daniel left his laptop open on the couch while he showered. Normally, he was meticulous about locking it. My heart hammered as I sat down and opened his email. At first, it was nothing unusual, work messages, receipts, junk mail. But then I found a folder labeled private. Inside were emails between Daniel and Emily. One line from her seared itself into my mind. I can't wait for her to be out of the picture. You and I deserve this life, Daniel. And his reply? Just be patient. Once everything is transferred, She won't be a problem anymore. Transferred. I covered my mouth to stifle the scream building in my throat. They weren't just planning a future together. They were planning it with my money, my sweat, my sacrifices, my dreams. That night, I stared at Daniel as he slept peacefully beside me, as if he hadn't shattered every piece of my world. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just break you. It rebuilds you into someone stronger, someone colder, someone dangerous. And I realized then, if he thought I would sit quietly while he erased me, he was dead wrong. The very next day, Emily made her move. I was leaving the grocery store when she accidentally bumped into me. Her perfume was sickeningly sweet, her eyes filled with mockery. "Oh, Isabella," she said with fake innocence, "you really should take better care of yourself. You look tired." I clenched my fists, biting back every word I wanted to scream. She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Don't worry. I'll make sure Daniel is well taken care of when you're gone." And then she walked away, her heels clicking against the pavement like gunshots. I stood there frozen, my heart pounding in my ears. When you're gone. Those words weren't just cruel. They were threatening. And suddenly, everything made sense. The money, the secrecy, the way Daniel treated me like I was disposable. They weren't just cheating. They were plotting to erase me. That night, I sat in the dark, my hand resting on my stomach. "They don't know about you," I whispered to the tiny heartbeat inside me. "But soon, they'll know everything." My silence was no longer just survival. It was strategy. Because when the truth finally came out, it wouldn't just break them. It would destroy them. And just as I made that promise, Daniel walked into the room, holding the same diamond necklace I saw on the receipt. But instead of handing it to me, he slipped it back into his pocket with a smirk, as if I was never meant to see it at all. The sight of that diamond necklace burning a hole in Daniel's pocket was all the confirmation I needed. My suspicions weren't paranoia, they were reality. He wasn't just cheating. He was building a new life, one where I didn't exist. And yet, as he kissed me goodnight like nothing was wrong, a calmness washed over me. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid. I had a secret he didn't know. And that secret would be my weapon. The next morning, I began working quietly, methodically. I wasn't just a betrayed wife anymore. I was a strategist. I copied the bank records, printed the hidden transactions, and even photographed the emails he'd written to Emily. Every detail was ammunition. But revenge isn't just about evidence. It's about timing. So I smiled through breakfasts, packed his lunches, and kissed his cheek like the devoted wife he thought he'd fooled. Inside, though, I was fire. A week later, Daniel came home unusually cheerful. He tossed his keys on the counter and pulled out 2 plane tickets. "Pack your bags," he said, flashing a grin that no longer charmed me. "We're going on a little trip." "To where?" I asked cautiously. "Somewhere warm. Somewhere far. Just us. Just us." The words rang hollow. I knew better. This wasn't romance. This was strategy. And then I saw the date. It was the same weekend Emily had mentioned in one of her emails. He wasn't taking me on vacation. He was setting up the perfect stage to get rid of me. That night, I sat alone in the bathroom, the pregnancy test trembling in my hands. The faint pink line stared back at me, undeniable. I was carrying his child. And suddenly, my plan shifted. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about survival, for me and for the life growing inside me. The turning point came when Emily pushed her arrogance too far. She called me. "Yes, Isabella," she purred when I answered, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "I thought you should know Daniel isn't happy. He tells me everything. He says you're pathetic, weak, a burden he can't wait to get rid of." My grip tightened on the phone, but I forced my tone to stay calm. "Is that so?" "Yes," she said, laughing softly. "But don't take it too hard. Some people just aren't meant for love. Don't worry, I'll take care of him for you. Better than you ever could." And then she hung up. For the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I smiled. Because in that moment, Emily confirmed exactly what I needed to hear. Her pride would be her downfall. The next day, I met with a lawyer in secret. I slid a thick folder across his desk, filled with every document I'd gathered. Mrs. Johnson, he said slowly as he flipped through the papers, if what you're saying is true, your husband isn't just unfaithful. He's committing financial fraud. And if you're ready, we can take everything from him. Everything, I whispered, my hand instinctively brushing my stomach. That's exactly what I want, but I couldn't move too soon. Daniel was careful, calculating. If he suspected I knew anything, he'd change his tactics. So I played the part. I packed for the vacation. I smiled when he spoke about our future. I even let him hold me at night, though every touch felt like fire against my skin. Inside, though, I was counting down the days, because this wasn't going to be his stage anymore. It was going to be mine. Finally, the weekend arrived. Daniel drove us to a secluded cabin by the lake. The air was crisp, the water glimmered, and everything looked picture perfect. But behind the beauty was danger. That night, as we sat by the fire, he poured me a glass of wine. "Drink," he said smoothly, his eyes glinting in the firelight. I lifted the glass to my lips but didn't sip. I studied him instead. And I realized he wasn't nervous. He wasn't guilty. He was confident. Because in his mind, I was already gone. But he underestimated me. While he plotted to erase me, I had already secured my escape. I had copies of every document hidden with my lawyer. I had a plan to expose him and Emily both. And most importantly, I had something they didn't know about, something they could never take from me, the life inside me. That night, as Daniel fell asleep beside me, I crept to the bathroom with my phone. I texted Emily from his number. "It's done. Meet me at the cabin tomorrow morning. She won't be in the way anymore." My fingers shook as I hit send, because tomorrow everything would change. The next morning, as sunlight streamed through the cabin window, I heard footsteps crunching on the gravel outside. I peered through the curtain. Emily was walking toward the cabin with a smile on her face, unaware that her entire world was about to collapse. The crunch of Emily's heels against the gravel outside echoed like a drumbeat in my chest. She was confident, radiant, strutting toward what she thought was her victory. I stayed by the window, my breath shallow. My hand instinctively rested on my stomach, grounding me. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about protecting the life inside me. And when the door opened, everything I had prepared for came crashing into the room. Emily stepped in without hesitation, her perfume filling the cabin. She smiled at Daniel like she already belonged here. "Darling," she whispered, wrapping her arms around his neck. My heart clenched, but not with pain anymore. With resolve. Daniel froze for a split second when he saw me standing in the corner. He hadn't expected me to be awake, watching. Emily followed his gaze and smirked. "Oh, she's still here." The arrogance in her voice cut through the air like a knife. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just let the silence stretch, thick and suffocating. Because silence, I'd learned, was more powerful than rage. Finally, Daniel cleared his throat. "Isabella, I can explain." "No," I said softly, cutting him off. My voice was calm, steady, but it shook them both. Emily laughed. "Oh, please. Don't embarrass yourself. You knew this was coming, didn't you? You felt it. That's why you've been so quiet lately. It must be exhausting, pretending you're still his wife." Her words were sharp, mocking, just as they'd always been. But this time, they didn't pierce me. They fueled me. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder thick with papers. I dropped it onto the coffee table, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "What's this?" Daniel asked, frowning. "Everything," I said. "Your emails, your secret bank accounts, your fraudulent deals, every lie you've built with her." Emily's smirk faltered. "And one more thing," I continued, locking eyes with Daniel. "I'm pregnant." The room froze. Daniel's face drained of color. Emily's jaw dropped, her arrogance shattering into panic. "You're lying," Emily snapped, her voice trembling. I stepped closer, my eyes never leaving hers. "No, I'm carrying his child. And unlike you, Emily, I don't need to steal or manipulate to keep him. I don't even want him anymore. Because soon, he'll have nothing." Daniel staggered back, clutching the edge of the sofa. "Isabella, please. We can fix this." I almost laughed. "Fix this? You were planning to kill me, Daniel. Don't insult me with apologies." His mouth opened, then closed, guilt and fear flickering in his eyes. Emily, however, wasn't finished. She stepped forward, trying to reclaim her dominance. "So what? You think having his baby makes you special? He chose me, Isabella. He doesn't love you anymore. You're just—" I cut her off with a single line. "Then why are you shaking?" Her body stilled. Her hands trembled as her eyes darted to the folder, to the evidence that could destroy both her and Daniel. At that moment, my phone buzzed. I picked it up and pressed a button. A voice filled the room. It was my lawyer, speaking on speakerphone. "Mrs. Johnson, I've received confirmation. The authorities are ready. All you need to do is give the word." Daniel's face went white. Emily's lips parted in shock. You set us up," she whispered. I finally smiled. "No, you set yourselves up. I just gave you the rope to hang yourselves." Emily lunged for the folder, but I stepped back, clutching it to my chest. "Don't," I warned, "because even if you destroy this copy, there are 10 more waiting with my lawyer. The truth is already out there. It's only a matter of time before the world knows who you both really are." Daniel sank into the chair, his head in his hands. For the first time, I saw him not as the powerful man I'd fallen for, but as a coward drowning in his own lies. And Emily? She was trembling, her perfect mask crumbling, her mocking arrogance gone. She had mocked my pain. She had laughed at my tears. But now she was frozen. Frozen by the truth. I turned toward the door, my bag slung over my shoulder. "Where are you going?" Daniel asked desperately. "Home," I said firmly. "To build a life without you. To raise my child in peace. And to watch you both crumble under the weight of your choices." Emily tried one last time. "You'll regret this, Isabella. You'll regret leaving him to me." I stopped at the doorway and looked back. My voice was quiet, but it carried more power than any scream. "No, Emily. You'll regret underestimating me." The last thing I saw as I walked away was Daniel collapsing, Emily clawing at him in panic, both of them realizing their empire of lies had finally turned to ash. I stepped into the sunlight, breathing deeply, free at last. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't broken. I was unshakable. She mocked my pain, but in the end, my silent truth left her frozen in shock.